Welcome to the Unhinged History Podcast. I'm Theresa.
I'm Angie.
And we're together. We're telling you the history stories that we wanted to learn. And so, sit back, buckle up, because I'm sure we brought some bangers today. But it's just the stuff we're compulsively learning on our own. And we figured we'd invite you along. So congratulations.
Because
I hope you have
sharing is
insurance.
And a great therapist.
That's really what it is.
Right.
It's either you can afford therapy or you're here.
What makes it worse is knowing you could be here at the bar.
Just bring your drinks with you. I mean, I purposefully am. This is a mixture of Pendleton whiskey and a little bit of apple juice because I wanted to keep the color.
I love that. And you know what has just been brought to my attention because you showed me that I did not bring a beverage with me.
What's even better is that this mug comes from a now defunct bar.
That's amazing.
It is from the Canadian owned bar that I used to drink at when I lived there in Japan.
Remember how World War II started?
I mean, so it wasn't as crazy as that, but it was one of those like the Canadian would get, you shouldn't get high on your own supply. He was, he would drink quite a bit. And
That's probably why it's defunct.
I mean, I really don't know what happened. Maybe he decided to not be out all night, drinking or whatever, get a job where you don't have to be open till 3.
Weird.
But he ended up he would get hammered. And then if he got hammered, he would pull out his own private stash of Canadian club whiskeys.
It's like a whiskey of the month club from Canada.
Oh my goodness. And you would get you would see 6 bottles on the counter and he'd be like, take a shot of this. And you're going to notice some smoky notes. This one's been aged. So you're going to be able, and you're like, you know what? This is fabulous. Can I taste? I can't even feel my soft palate, but let's do the next one.
I would so much rather go whiskey tasting than wine tasting.
I feel like you don't have the pretentiousness
to be a wine drinker.
Well, when you're whiskey drinking, I feel like it's when you're wine drinking, you go to the winery and they give you the little tiny glass, and then there's some person who spits it out, and you're like,
Yeah, so no, I couldn't do that. And the problem is I would only make it 3 shots in to the whiskey. I'm not pretentious enough because I don't have the mustache. But otherwise
I do.
It's whiskey is my
I have
of the alcoholic beverages, my favorite.
And I tell my daughter that I have the mustache.
Yeah, still jealous I'll never have one.
I mean, it's to the point where, she asked, at one point, Mom, what do you do for work? And I was like, just tell your class I'm a bearded woman.
Ethan told his class once when they were asked what your parents do, that his dad throws the riffraff out.
Damn.
Yeah, I got that note from the teacher when I picked him up. She was like, I don't know what your husband does, but your son thinks he throws the riffraff out.
I mean, I don't think he's not wrong.
No, he's not. And so when I took him home that day, I asked him, I was like, so Ethan told his class today that you throw the riffraff out, and Ian just started laughing, and he was like, not anymore. They're pretty much gone because we threw them all out.
But riffraff is one of them words that he just didn't come up with.
No, because he heard it from his father.
Right. Riffraff. Yeah, he reported on facts.
He was spitting the journalistic truth.
Right? That was a direct quote, signed Dad.
I just said that word, and I guarantee you I'm going to botch up every other word I say now. Journalistic. That was beautiful.
Well done. I mean, I still have a hard time saying Oliver Cromwell.
I mean, okay, Oliver Cromwell, because they don't go together. It's like Irish wristwatch.
Oh, okay. I don't feel bad anymore because it's I just talk in cursive.
Yeah, I get that. Yes. Mm-hmm.
And ignore the fact that I said I'm drinking, a heavy, stiff drink. But, I talk in cursive and it's fine. I do that sober. I do that at 3 a.m. I should stop talking.
I got you.
I'm
I
digging myself a
fully,
deeper hole.
you know what? Not with me. Our listeners maybe, but not me. I get it.
All right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, I mean, I have a feeling you already know my story.
What? Weird. I don't know what you're talking about.
For those playing at home, we did record. We recorded earlier today, even like responsible adults, and then realized that the audio it just needs to get redone. So here we
so
are.
here we are.
And like in the past, we've done this thing where we're like, you know what we're gonna do? We're going to like throw out the entire episode and we're going to come at each other with an entire new book report on what we're doing. And today I was just like, you know what? I don't feel like doing a whole new book report. Either
Well, and
like,
also our stories are so fun. Like they're so
oh,
fun.
it
Well,
is so good.
yours is way funner than mine. Mine's kind of depressing, but they're great stories
Yours is not
nonetheless.
depressing. You just don't know how to market it.
I mean, like, okay, I could tell the whole story without telling the bad parts of the story.
No, I mean, I feel like the bad parts make the good parts.
So that yes, that's why I
Okay,
told the
so
bad
then
parts.
market it better.
Okay.
Don't just be like, okay, so I hope we've all done our Xanax because this is about to go real dark, real quick.
Do
I'm
you
not
have
saying that
your
you need
teddy
to
bear?
have you paused to call your therapist or your mother.
Is your therapist your mother?
That shouldn't be because that is a conflict of interest.
I think so, but some people, they got to call mom.
That is
What do
very
I know? My therapist is 11 years old.
okay. That sounds like your poor child is going to need some reparenting.
No, I'm kidding. But he is I always tell him he's the calm in the storm. So like whenever I am having a rough day, like I just want to sit by him and not talk. And he just his calmness kind of, you know, rubs off.
Mm.
Yeah. Everybody needs one like that.
I don't have one like that. I mean, no, I don't have one like that.
Yeah, but yours is really awesome anyway.
No, mine is really stinking awesome.
Yeah.
But Mike lives with two of me.
I constantly tell Ethan or Ian that he lives with two of me because he's got Ethan also. But Ethan is like me, hopped up on Mountain Dew.
Oh,
And he likes people. So there's that.
I mean, like my daughter, we are either like at each other's throats or like brainwaves.
Hit me with your story. I want to hear it, yo.
Okay,
Again,
so
I'm excited.
I'm gonna tell you. So the story was originally pitched to me off TikTok, and it's by someone whose handle is Mr. Argentium, and he presented that I need to talk about the pastry war. And so, like, automatically, when you get a term like the pastry war, I'm like, I'm in.
Food fight.
I mean, because I was like, if this is a legit war, then it's going to involve France. Like, it's
That
going
checks.
to, like, okay, now who's the contender? Like,
Okay, so I was thinking about this. The amount of times France has been rather either directly or indirectly involved in an international incident makes me laugh.
they've been a world player for a long time.
Like a very long time. And is it this way because just of their like location? Like we are right smack dab right here. And we have these other superpowers, like these other very prominent figures near us. So I guess like we're involved now.
Right.
Like by default.
Okay, so the one thing I was thinking of is like you think about how next door neighbors are not good neighbors. You need to have like you think about music. Piano, when you have two keys next to each other, it's dissonant. It's like because you need a little bit more space between your neighbors to have a good time.
High fences build good neighbors.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
next door neighbors, not the best with when you look at piano, but you look at countries that share borders and typically not good friendships, right? Like you've had some beef. And unless
Yeah.
I'm like, but with France, I was like, okay, so France has this great border between of the English Channel between it and England. That's a big barrier of water, but yet there have been like not decades, centuries of
Centuries.
beef between those two countries, and it's like, well, maybe they just developed like navies, and then that didn't count. But it's like, okay, so why do the Basque Mountains of Spain provide such a good barrier? Like mountains
Well,
aren't the
I mean,
best.
there is that area of Spain between Spain and France, Navarre,
Mm-hmm.
that's like contested. Like sometimes it's French, sometimes it's Spanish, and everybody there like whatever. They live
They're like,
amongst themselves.
yeah, you
Like
know what? I'm just here. Whatever.
whatever. Like just tell me where I need to pay my taxes. Like I wonder if that's why, because there's a middle ground where they're like, well, I guess we're French today.
We only pay taxes to who shows up, and we just hope if you're the one angry about it that you showed up first.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. So with that lead in, I'm gonna lead off with my sources.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going off of cooksinfo.com. They've got an entry on the pastry war. I'm going off of mexconnect.com. They have the pastry war of 1838. History.com. They have an entire article on 6 wars fought for ridiculous reasons. And their one paragraph summary of the pastry war is a must read.
Absolute gold.
Um, and then there's an article from the Legislative Reference Library of Texas titled How Food Caused Santa Anna to Lose His Leg Twice.
Yeah. Okay, one of your sources has Mex in it, and I'm gonna be real honest. Both times I've heard that now, I keep thinking, you did you get this off a menu?
I did. I went to Chevy's. I had to wear a sombrero.
But did it have the cheese sauce? You know what I'm and you take the
No, I don't know what you're talking about.
Hotel Transylvania 3, I think, has it. He's got a sombrero made out of tortilla chip, and the center of the sombrero, that fits on your head, has a bowl of nacho cheese in it.
Okay. I mean, I feel like Transylvania 3 played in the background and entertained child as I like read a textbook or something.
You should take an opportunity to watch all three of them if you have not, because they are delights.
Okay. I will
Yeah.
add that to the list of things that I need to do.
Yeah, and then report back, because one of the characters in that movie I live with um all the time.
So
Yeah,
back to the pastry war.
Pastry Wars, that's what we're talking about.
Yep. Now, I mean, Pastry War in one of the articles, the headline was like in 1838. So I'm gonna have to go back and I'm gonna have to give you tons of background because that's what I do, because I don't feel like a war comes up out of nowhere.
Usually not.
No, like there's typically stuff that happens. So 1821, Mexico gains its independence from Spain, and it's got a ton of growing pains. Like in a previous episode, you had mentioned something about like how quickly, like how Mexico just kept going through government after government after government. And it's actually during this time, because I was kind of like, what in the world are you talking about? Like I just wrote it down. It's like, look this up. She's not making this up. And it's during this time that Mexico changed its presidency, or its presidency changed hands about 20 times during that first 20 years. So things were rocky. And
Rocky. They weren't smooth.
I mean, when you're just a foundling country and you just don't have your systems and structures built up, and you don't have a lot of capital, and so you have to keep going to people like France asking for money to fight, wars, to quash rebellions, to keep your country together,
little things.
And then you go to France and you're like, hey, I don't really like these terms of our loan. Can I get better terms? Maybe, I don't know, recognize me as a country. And France says, no.
This is like France being everybody's big brother.
I mean, it kind of is. France and Mexico. And France is like trying to exploit Mexico for, mining opportunities within the country. And Mexico is just like, look, we just need the money, right? We're just having trouble. Like 1828, Mexico is feeling particularly lawless. They're having another change of government, and it's a hotly contested election, which means that there's two warring factions in the streets. One of which is led by, and I love the word redoubtable. I did have to look up what it meant because it was just a word I don't hear used often. It's like formidable, but in a comical sense.
Okay.
And I'm
Okay.
just like, that is an oddly specific word.
I love it.
So the redoubtable General Antonio López de Santa Anna, he is leading a garrison in Mexico City and overthrows the other political candidate, Pedraza. And then amid this chaos of 1828, mobs of soldiers are doing this fantastic thing where they're looting homes and businesses throughout the city. They're making friends and winning
in droves.
Yeah, like, that's just what they're doing. And during this time, they end up smashing up a pastry shop belonging to a French national named Monsieur Remontel. And he claims he was ransacked by drunken army forces. So he's got a beef. And Remontel goes,
that checks though.
Yeah. I mean, like, chances are it's not going to be a bunch of stone cold. Like, if they're coming through and smashing up your shops, they probably stopped at the wine shop owned by your buddy next door.
Yeah, I would have to think.
Right? Like,
maybe they were whiskey tasting.
Oh, bless them. They can do no wrong. They've made all the right choices.
Well, for us, they did.
I know.
Because here we are.
So there's sources that say that Remontel, like, his shop losses were only like about 1,000 pesos of what he lost, but he starts claiming 60,000 pesos to rebuild. Basically, like, the lifetime earnings of his shop.
Okay, well, he's just trying to retire early.
I mean, I can't fault him for it. And so the Mexican officials, they just do the logical thing. They ignore his complaints.
As you do.
I mean, at this point, financial restitution is not offered to any foreigner at all by Mexico, because Mexico is a little bit strapped for cash. They're not just going to do anything and everything. So as this all is going on, like, a couple years go by and it's 1833, and the redoubtable General Antonio López de Santa Anna.
Sorry, when you say it, I lose it.
I know, because it's just one of those, like, as the story goes on, he becomes more redoubtable.
Yes, that's probably how he got the name.
Yeah, I mean, I should mention now that many of the articles I read, he fashions himself as a reincarnate of Napoleon. So he spends heavy. Like, his marketing spin, he goes heavy-handed on it. But
I love it.
I mean, if you're gonna go hard, right?
Yeah. Does he know how Napoleon ended?
I think he figures it out.
Oh, okay.
But we're getting ahead of ourselves. So in 1833, Santa Anna seizes the presidency, and then almost immediately he does this whole thing where it gets hard, and so he retires. I just can't. And then he comes back to power, and then he goes back out. But as he's doing this, he's letting his vice president just kind of take control, and it's basically whenever he just bows out. So 1836, he leads an expedition across the Rio Grande, and he's quelling the rebellion that is happening in Texas. This is where the Battle of the Alamo happens. And the Battle of the Alamo, he wins the Alamo, like, great victory there. And that's the assault that ended Davy Crockett. And that bit
makes me sad.
Okay, I obviously know whose side you're on. I can tell the color of your passport from here.
No, okay, not for that reason, but for the fact that, like, I'm sure Davy Crockett did some unscrupulous things, but like, as an American school child, like, all you hear is that he was this great frontier explorer.
I mean, all I really know about him is that he wore a raccoon skin hat.
I mean, I think that's all we need to know about him.
Really?
I maybe you know what? Let's
Like,
do a podcast about him
okay, that's your topic next round. And go.
next round because my next round is for April Fools.
Okay. Sure. Sure.
Trust me, you're gonna want to hear it.
All right. So it's right after, he witnesses Davy Crockett go to his bitter end to meet his maker, that Mexico is defeated and he's taken prisoner. And somehow during this, he is such a rogue that he ends up organizing a meet with Andrew Jackson. And en route to Washington, he's greeted as a celebrity by the anti-slavery movement because it seems as if everything happening in Texas is an effort by the slave states to improve their position.
Okay. Okay.
I mean, I can't fault him for this. Like, take the advantage of whatever situation you're in.
He knows how to market, that's for sure.
I mean, honestly, that's what this whole podcast is about. Is like, just take a leaf out of his book, because for the most part, from a marketing perspective, he gets it right only because he keeps succeeding. From a
whatever works.
Like military strategist, maybe not so much, but he gets in front of Andrew Jackson, and he's still like technically president of Mexico. So Santa Anna's like, you know what? I'll let Texas be independent. I'll let, you know what? You're right. Okay, but I'm gonna need to go talk to the Congress of Mexico. And if I go do that, will you guys like just, I don't know, let me go? And America's like, oh,
Okay.
go on.
Shucks.
I mean, we kind of like, yeah, you're crazy. And so as he gets to Mexico, he's like, I kind of don't want to tell everybody that I lost Texas. That's going to make him pretty stinking sore. I'm going to retire. I'm going to go sit on the beach, drink some mimosas, have a good time. I'm going to call it like,
I'm done.
This doesn't, yeah, like tap out. 1, 2, 3, not it.
Take me out, coach.
Yeah, like I just want to go sit on the bench. It's been a hard inning.
Yeah.
And as he thinks, as he's right, because Mexico is pretty pissed off about this. Like, the Congress is not happy, and they don't necessarily agree that Texas is quote free. And Mexico is broke, so they need everything they can get their hands on. And it's in this process they've taken out millions in modern or in old time money, in 1830s money from France. In Santa Anna, because I mean, Santa Anna is the reason why they took out so much money, because it's his fault they were trying to quell that rebellion in Texas.
The first place.
Yeah, like he's one is like, yo king, what you got for me? Can you just say that I'm my own country? We can get a better interest rate, right? I mean, I know you do it for Spain. Come on. you do it for my ex.
Oh my god.
But Santa Anna, when he comes home, he's like, I'm not like, look, Mexico's bankrupt. I'd rather go have a Mai Tai. And as a result, Mexico's like, you're dead to me. Fine. I'm retired. What do I care? So
exes.
Back up a little bit, and now it's time to realize that Remontel, the owner of the pastry shop, he's been complaining for 10 years. And it's like, none of the articles I read was like, and he's still complaining. Like, you have to kind of read between the lines and be like, that was a decade ago. And he's still like, what has he been doing since then? Has he like set up like a small version of it? Like, does he have like a little wheelbarrow full of beignets and croissants going down? Like, is he hustling, or has he rebuilt it all? Or is he just like, back in my day, I had drunken soldiers come in?
I would love to know from his standpoint what happened in these 10 years.
I mean, because basically all I can figure out that is he just complained the entire time. And Mexican officials are just ignoring him the entire time. So, like the best Karen, he has escalated up the chain of command, manager after manager after manager, to the point where he's like, you know what? I'm done with this entire organization. I'm switching organizations and I'm going to talk to King Louis Philippe, at my own king, and I'm going to complain to him about the awfulness that I'm experiencing in another country.
The service I'm getting here.
Right, like this is like getting so upset at the service you're getting at Wendy's, you go to Burger King to complain to their manager.
That checks.
But I mean, in this case, Burger King's manager is a bit more pull because King Louis Philippe, he's pissed because Mexico has failed to pay the millions in loans that they owe, and they've kind of made the statement that maybe next year's not good either. And so he's just itching for a reason at this point. And this is when he tells the king, I'm looking for 60,000 pesos. And King Louis Philippe, he looks at him and says, 60,000. I'm demanding that they pay 600,000. And so it's just like, it's bad when your king says, whatever you want, move the decimal point. We're going with that number. And remember, his losses were about probably 1,000. So this is just ridiculous. And when Mexico ends up hearing the number that King Louis Philippe states, they're balking at what they consider an astrological sum. They couldn't get it if they wanted to, right? Remember, they're so broke that Santa Anna has decided that peace out, self-paid retirement's the best way to go. And so King Louis Philippe, he's like, okay, you don't want to pay me, that's fine, not a problem. I declare war. And
as you do.
I mean, it's just like, okay, we're starting about it like this isn't necessarily a pig, but it's basically a pile of croissants that we're starting a war over. So it's another absolutely ridiculous thing. And in France's defense, they're claiming that this is just another example of a foreign investor in Mexico that's been denied compensation by the Mexican government for damage. Yeah, damages caused during civil unrest. The problem with this statement is that Mexico is not even paying for compensation for their own citizens when their soldiers are stomping through town, like flattening everything, doing a scorched earth campaign because their side won or lost or whatever you do.
Whatever.
Right. But it's like,
it could go both ways.
I mean, have you ever been so happy that your sports team won that you just decide to flatten an entire city block?
No, I can safely say that no, I've never done that. But I've watched it on the news.
I mean, I have as well. So it's easy to like throw shade at Mexico for doing this. The problem is when you think about the time frame, France is not without issue here. Because they've just gone through decades of war, revolution. There's been coups, maybe a couple of upheavals. And they're not like shelling out money to their citizens either. So France, they're like, we're going to send French Baron Bouffady to Mexico with an ultimatum to pay the 600,000. And Mexico's like, look, we don't have our money. We've gone through the couch a couple of times. It's not here.
Weird. Texas took it.
Yeah, like don't mess with Texas. We've tried. And the Mexican president, Anastasio Bustamante, he just ignores the ultimatum. And I get it, right? Like you have that bill that comes in, you're like, yeah, maybe I'm going to kick this can down the road a bit.
Yeah, maybe don't.
Yeah, this one looks expensive. I'm going to go eat a carton of ice cream in comment. Yeah, we've all done it. So
yeah.
April of 1838, France responds by sending a fleet, an entire fleet under Napoleonic naval hero, Admiral Charles Boudin. And he arrives and sets up a blockade from the coast of Mexico on the Caribbean side, from the Yucatan all the way up to the Rio Grande, and then captures nearly every part of the Mexican Navy.
I mean, you do what you got to do,
I mean, you're really small and fledgling when it's just done like that.
Done.
And so
Yeah, it was probably nothing for the French fleet too. Like
No,
they were probably like, meh, okay, I've
we've been
had
at
worse.
this for hundreds of years, right? Like,
Thanks, Britain.
yeah, like we're well trained in this. But yeah, we'll take your
Yeah,
3 schooners and just kind of sweep them aside and call it a day.
yeah, it's fine.
So this, with their entire navy being, captured and all the ports closed to merchant traffic, the Mexican smugglers, they start moving goods into the ports of Texas and then trying to transport them overland back into Mexico.
Which
And
also seems like a terrible idea.
I mean, it doesn't seem like the easiest, right? Like from a
Yeah.
distribution standpoint, you're struggling. So, in cooperation with the French and the country, the Republic of Texas, they put armed
God
vessels,
bless Texas.
like learning that Texas had been its own country for several years, like made a ton of sense having visited there. Like you can see it. It's like, you know what? You guys have been your own country. I get it now.
Yeah, you do you, boo.
Yeah, like, you know what? It all makes sense.
Yeah.
Texas does what it can to intercept the smugglers, and even the U.S. decides that they're going to lend a hand. And so they drop the USS Woodbury, a warship, to join the blockade. One article calls it a schooner. I'm going with warship. It sounds better.
Yeah, I mean, a schooner could definitely be a warship for sure. Does it
Right.
have guns? Then it's a warship.
I mean, maybe the BB gun on the front seat of the SS Sardine could really do some not damage. I mean, it hysterical work, but nothing to do anything. But Mexico's like, you know what? We're not paying a dime because you need to remove this blockade before we even start negotiations. You're not coming here from a position of kindness and gratitude and working on common ground here.
Yeah. Oh,
Like,
is that what we were supposed to do? I think we
I mean,
tried
it's like
that.
we're broke, and blocking us from our ability to get that money ain't helping at all.
Right.
And meanwhile, it's like all of this is happening, and Mexico's like, we're going to put a ton of our army at the port of Veracruz, just because we can tell that this is where there's a big likelihood of incursion. The problem is, like, they kind of have no money. So, like, doing a big, significant armed resistance is basically impossible. So that was like April, things kick off. It's now November, and the French ships fire at that fort in Veracruz. And in the 28th of November, the French have like 30,000 soldiers, and Mexico's got 3,000 troops. So, I mean, after rolling them dice, things aren't too good. And Mexico looks at this shelling of their fort, and they are like, I cannot believe that France would do us dirty like this. I mean, first we had the block. If they declared war, they set up a blockade. They fired on our fort. You know what? We're declaring war on France.
I quit. You can't declare war on me. I've already quit.
Yeah, but they didn't quit, because to quit would be like what? Like raising the surrender?
I mean to say, like, it's the exact same energy as you can't fire me. I quit.
Fair. You can't declare war on me. I declare war on you.
Yeah. Ha.
Yeah, that'll show you. Not recognize me as a country. I'll show you what I can do.
Mm-hmm. Where's my mom?
I know. And so it's at this point the French, they're done caring. They invade the city. It's a 1-day battle. And it says the Mexicans enjoyed some early success, but it was a 1-day battle. And by the end of that day, they're forced into retreat. So I don't know what success looked like. Like if one French soldier tripped and like broke his leg on his own backpack or whatever it was, but it was not a good time. And Mexico had their lunch eaten. But as all this is going on, for one man, it was an absolute victory. And that man, our man, the redoubtable Santa Anna, who coincidentally, when he retired to Veracruz.
I mean, it's like he just saw this coming.
it's like, I'm going to set myself up for the next scene change because this is going to be a fantastic thing. And while
Mm-hmm.
in Santa Cruz, he sees all these troops pouring in and he's like, you know what I'm going to do? This is my comeback moment. Put on my Taylor Swift album. I am doing this. I'm entering my villain era. We're going to get this going.
It's gonna be amazing.
And so he grabs whatever troops he can muster, and then he starts attacking the French who are holding the port city. And during that battle, he gets hit with grape shot from a cannon and loses his leg.
Just I love it.
And
Fire.
like, so in sources I couldn't find that Angie offered up. And the first time I told her the story, she made mention that she had heard he stood in front of the cannon and yelled fire, and that's how he lost his leg.
Again, I cannot cite my source. I heard the story years ago, but that's what stuck with me.
I mean, either way, Brad loses his
Yeah.
leg. And fast forward in the spring, the economy's still in tatters. It hasn't gotten much better. And it's at this point that Great Britain steps in and says, yo, Mexico, maybe you should sue for peace because this isn't working out. And maybe you should promise to pay the 600,000 pesos. And so in March of 1839, France lifts the blockade. Now, we should note that the final body count of this whole campaign, France loses 8 during the 5-month conflict, and Mexico lost more than 200 troops. So
At least half of those 8 were not actually in combat. They were like got drunk and fell off the ship.
Yeah, like died of an STI.
Yeah. Yeah. Or paper cut.
Just wandered out into the Sonora Desert.
Exactly.
So either way, Mexico is soundly thrashed. And it's awful. But Santa Anna, he decides to go on a bit of a PR blitz to rebuild his reputation. And he goes from being this lackluster person to a general back in the national spotlight. And part of this PR blitz, he digs up his leg.
Never gonna get over it.
And gives his leg a parade. I don't know what a leg parade looks like. But then he gives it a military funeral.
And it did lose its life in battle.
I mean, it did. But it's so big. He gives his leg an effing monument and then resumes the presidency.
Listen, he put people to work building that monument.
He did. And then he decides to raise taxes because, again, the country's broke.
Yeah.
And people hate him. Now, I did hear in one source that he commissioned 2 legs being built. One had a ball bearing. I didn't tell you this in the last one. One had a ball bearing, so it bent at the knee. And I don't understand the functionality of that. Like, I kind of want to see him walk around with the said thing, because you look at like the cork leg that I do have a picture of, and it is from like the knee down. So I don't understand how the ball bearings would work, and I kind of wish I had images of that because I want to understand the mechanics, because I would hate to be walking around and my knee suddenly buckle because of the ball bearings.
That's so steampunk. I love it.
I mean, it is very steampunk, and as somebody who's starting to lean into that aesthetic for her entire home, I just kind of want a steampunk ball bearing leg lamp.
Yes. And then you have to put a plaque on it for Santa Anna.
It would just say redoubtable.
Perfect.
But anyhow, so he has these legs built and he's raising taxes. And it's 1844, so it hasn't been too terribly long. People are so fed up with him. They tear down the monument. And have you ever been so angry at somebody that you dig up their severed limb? And then,
not that I know of.
then they do the better. Like this thing is like, it's gotta stink. It's gotta stink. It's been in the ground for 5 years. They dig it up and they drag it through the streets, chanting that they want to kill the cripple. I know I didn't say that the last time, but that is literally
Ableists.
what they're. I don't disagree. I didn't say it was polite wording. I'll slap the explicit label on this episode because I've just earned it. And so Santa Anna, he does the Santa Anna thing and he retires to Cuba.
Well,
It's been a good run.
for my leg.
Boom.
You're welcome.
So
I'll
2
see
years
myself
later,
out.
it's 1846. The U.S. declares war on Mexico to take Texas, the independent country that Mexico doesn't own anymore.
Because they independent. They don't need no man.
But they're going to let some... But it's like, Mexico's like, I mean, you're ours, but you're not ours. You're ours because we didn't agree. Santa Anna said that you're not, but you are. And the U.S. is like, we're going to fight you for this independent state of Texas. I want to be in the room for that one because that feels like a different conversation that I needed to be in on. So Santa Anna, his ears perk up because he can't not be in the middle of turmoil. And he goes, oh, hey, U.S., I got an idea. You remember how I was like president of Mexico every time things got a little heated? How about I'll reach out to Mexico and I'll sell you land super cheap and then I'll work this through with you. Okay. Like I got your back. You like land, you like Texas. I can get you more super cheap. Hey, Mexico, I want to come back. I want to help you navigate these mucky waters with the U.S. because they're kind of a bully. I have a feeling they'll calm down in a year or two, but they're not calming down now. But I don't want the presidency. I'm not going to usurp power. That's not me. I'm a changed man. Cuba has been revolutionary for me.
Oh.
And so the U.S. goes, yeah, we'll smuggle you back in, get us that land super cheap. Santa Anna, the one-legged general, he gets back into Mexico. He doesn't sell land to D.C. He does take over that presidency, though, and he's back and he's worse than ever. Anything that bigger, badder, worse than ever. He does the immediate thing of taking a bunch of Mexican troops and starts war with the United States.
Oh, well, yeah, they should have seen that coming, to be honest.
I mean, you don't earn the title redoubtable with anything else.
I think that you're right. Yeah.
So from 1846 to 1848, the U.S. and Mexico are in the standoff, and it's during that conflict that Santa Anna loses the artificial leg he's been using since the Battle of Veracruz. So he loses the same damn leg twice. Well, 3 times. You think that it was dug up and then lost to him. I mean, it's technically a third time.
Leg.
I mean, this is like me with my cell phone in the early 2000s. Could not be trusted.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. Santa Anna is doing his thing, and because he thinks because he's the president that he can be able to take a break from battle and go have a chicken dinner and relax in his carriage, that he doesn't necessarily. I mean, he kind of plays too close to the line, and so a group of troops from Illinois come upon his carriage as he's fleeing, and they find his chicken dinner and the leg that he left in a hurry. So
I can leave it in a hurry.
I mean, I can only imagine that you don't have time to do all of the straps that come on with this thing, and it's just quicker to take your nub on a horse.
Okay. That's not the visual I wanted, but now that's the visual that I have. Thank you.
I mean, it's a better visual than the one that you and I wanted to come with of him hopping.
That's still my favorite because I can see it,
I don't disagree. It's not a bad one. I just don't think it's the actual one.
I think you're closer to right with the horse, though. That makes more sense.
I'm just going with what they had at the time. I'm just trying to draw the what did he have access to? What was he likely to do? So the troops from Illinois, they do the logical thing. They sit down, they eat his entire meal, they take that leg. And I can only assume every shenanigan that happened with that leg, but either way, it makes it all the way back to the state of Illinois because Illinois is immediately next to Mexico for those playing at home. And it is currently on display at the Illinois State Military Museum. This part cracks me up because Mexico repeatedly has asked for Illinois to send the leg back.
No.
Yeah, and Illinois is just like, new phone, who dis? So
No.
before we end,
It's ours.
Yeah, look,
They've
I
had
got
it longer.
fair and square.
Finders keepers.
He left it.
It's mine.
So Santa Ana, because obviously going back to Mexico sounds like a rough go at this point because you lost a leg again.
Again.
Like they're, you know what? My Congress is not gonna believe that I lost this leg again. And so he ends.
Are never gonna believe this, but
crazy thing happened. You know that
super
leg
weird.
I had? Yeah, the
No,
right
I
one.
don't.
I mean, it's gone. But he ends his life, and this is what cracks me up, in Staten Island.
It's just so random.
Like he ends his life and like he spends 2 years here and dies senile and broke in a modest residence. And like I think that part cracks me up because of all he did for money.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Like every time the going got rough, he didn't stick it out with his country. He bowed out and went into retirement, did whatever the heck he wanted to do. And then when things started to come back, he's like, "Oh, I'm back, baby. I'm president."
What did you say earlier? Zaphoid Beeble Rocks. Yes.
Yeah,
I 100%. Yeah, that's perfection.
President Zaphoid Beeblebrox of Mexico.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Running his I'm with Stupid campaign.
I am seriously gonna have to go watch it with my boys again. Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy is one of our all-time favorites.
I mean, I remember reading Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy backstage during a play on the Bosnian Serbian conflict, and the play itself took place at a women's refugee camp, so it was incredibly somber. And I'm backstage reading this book, cackling as the stage manager is beating me.
You're like, just read the book.
I'm like, oh my gosh. Okay, but you don't understand. The dolphins leave Earth.
So long, and thanks for all the fish. I think hands down my favorite part in the entire series is I think it's book 2. It's book 2 or book 3, but it's the restaurant at the end of the universe.
Mm-hmm.
And there is a rock star. There's like a rock band in there, and they're there hiding for tax evasion. Like they've declared dead on their taxes. It's so stupid. It makes me so happy. We've been declared dead, so we don't have to pay taxes anymore.
I mean, who among us?
Definitely Santa Ana.
Dude would do anything for money.
Feel like, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So tell me your story.
Seeking a Zaphoid Beeblebrox.
You just can't like, all right.
Like
Buttons aren't toys. Buttons aren't toys.
I can't. And his head. So I can't unsee it now. He's always going to be a Mexican president now. God. Gotta find the beginning of my notes. Okay.
You have handwritten notes.
I do. Look at, for the friends playing along, you can't see this, but
it's pink.
It's pink, yeah. I rarely ever write in normal color ink because in one of the English classes I took in college, like 1,000 years ago, the instructor had us write like sideways or in circles, or because apparently that's like really good for your like creativity in your brain.
Mm-hmm.
And that has stuck with me forever. So I use different colors, and I rarely write like this way, you know?
Okay, like these are my notes from work.
Yeah.
I mean, like, and depending on how complex the notes are, I will write my questions going into the meeting at the top, and then I'll put a symbol next to each question. And as I ask them, I do just the symbol and then the answer.
Yep. Yeah.
So I can mind map where everything goes. And
yes. I also color coordinate everything.
This checks.
Yeah. Every day. Every day is a different color.
On Wednesdays, we wear pink.
Most of the time. That's not where I got it from, but yeah, that's what most of the time it's pink. It started out pink because that's what color was in my notebook. But anyway, Prussia, 1712. For those that didn't know, like myself, Prussia is in fact not just Germany before Germany became Germany. Prussia contains parts of Germany, Russia, Poland, Denmark, Belgium, and the Czech Republic, among other nearby areas. I'm doing a very complicated, compelling fellow, but I'm quite fond of him regardless of his negative attributes.
Why don't you just stop? Tell us who you're talking about. Like,
yeah, Fredrick II the Great of Prussia. The first of 9 siblings, the crown prince, if you will. He had 9 siblings. And when I say 9 siblings, that's 9 siblings that lived to adulthood in 1712. Like, I think that's worth mentioning.
Yeah, no, because you had, you make a couple more to lose.
That's so bad, but yeah.
I mean, it is what it is. Like at the time, nobody knew to wash their hands. We didn't know that maybe we shouldn't
lick things.
We still blamed, like, we didn't want to open windows and let in fresh air because that's bad for kids.
Oh, yeah. I would not have done well in the birthing bed. I'm just going to say that. Like, open the window. I would like to breathe.
I mean, you don't want to sit in a room of your own putrid smells?
Not typically. I'm not a fan.
I mean, all right.
I also bathe regularly, but I'm not sure how regularly they bathe. But still.
Yeah. Anyhow, fast forward.
Yeah. Anyway, his favorite sibling's name is Wilhelmine, because in Prussia we're not real clever with names. Because his father is Frederick William of Prussia, and his mother is Sophia Dorothea of Hanover. Dad wanted them to be educated like normal folks, so he got them a Huguenot tutor. Huguenots are French Protestants that had left France for religious freedoms.
Angie's saying that because the first time we talked about this, I was like, Huguenots. I know the word, but I've always just said that they're Argonauts, and they fought with Jason against.
And I agreed with her. And although I knew they didn't, but it doesn't. I feel like Argonauts is right.
Argonauts is still the answer that I'm going with on Jeopardy. Just so.
I mean, you do you. I'm not going to stop.
I didn't say I was winning. This is how I'm going down.
This is what I'm playing. Okay, that's what we're doing. Oh, you mean that's not it?
No, I'm going out as a meme. Let's be honest.
Do it. I'm so proud of you. So he hires this French Huguenot tutor, Madame de Montbal, and she teaches the children German and French at the same time, as well as literature, philosophy, and all things French. They're Francophiles for sure. It's even stated that Fredrick the Great himself, as a young man and well into adulthood, did not really ever get a perfect hang on the German language or the German accent, and botched it quite a bit. He preferred French. He loved music, so far as to say that he completed at least 4 symphonies, 100 sonatas, and permanently suffered from taco neck, which we determined tacos weren't a thing in Prussia at the time earlier, but just get that visual. He played the flute a lot. That's all I'm trying to say.
When she says taco neck, what she means, I didn't mean to misgender you, is like flopping the head over to like do diddly doo, diddly doo, diddly doo.
On your flute or to eat your taco, whatever you do, you boo. Um, so Frederick's dad, Fredrick William, is kind of an
The first.
authoritarian, the
That's
first, if you will.
literally
Yes.
senior.
Yes. See, we're going to call him senior from here on out. Frederick Sr. is an authoritarian and very militaristic, and Frederick Jr. is not. He is
So
very.
basically every time you have a junior and a senior, and the senior is very regimented, stick up the you will do things my
Yes.
way. Like the same.
Yeah. Yeah. Exactly that. So he beat him and humiliated him in public all the time because that's what you're supposed to do, I guess.
That's how you engender love, right?
Yeah, right. That being said, it didn't stop Frederick from his passions, and by 16, he had grown very close to his father's page, Peter Carl Christoph von Keith, because that's so much fun to say.
Nothing says sexy like a good 7 names.
That's exactly what I'm thinking. No one's entirely for sure, but they think this might have been more than a friendship. Wilhelmine comments on how close their bond was and how she herself didn't really know where they stood. So of course dad finds out about this and does the thing where, as the ruling monarch, you can send your child's lover away, sends him to the Dutch front lines and out of Frederick Jr.'s life. Around this time, mom starts to try to make marriage alliances. That never really plays out because of some kind of shady ambassadors and different individuals involved. Okay, fine, whatever. That's cool, because then he meets a much older Prussian officer called Hans Hermann von Kett, because that's also super fun to say, and he's a Prussian officer.
I mean, he's already in the army. He's close. He's one of us.
Exactly.
He knows the languages that I speak. It's fine.
Right, and my dad likes him. So they do the thing where, because he is also serving in the Prussian army, because he is the crown prince and that's the thing that you do, they decide while on like an away mission that they're gonna escape, but they're not entirely smart about this, and they tell a friend, they phone a friend, and the friend has what I called earlier a come to Jesus moment, but we turned out it's actually just probably petty vengeance.
I mean, it's petty, or it's just like a get rich quick scheme where it's like, you know what? Why don't you cross my palms with some silver? I got some news. I'm gonna spill this tea.
Yeah. Or like, maybe don't kill me because I told you this is what's happening.
Oh, it could be one of those like, hey, I know you just caught me with a court martial offense, but how about I throw somebody else under the bus to save my own neck?
That's yeah, I'm somewhere on this, but it's super scandalous because one of the individuals that's involved in telling dear old Pop that his son's about to run away with his lover is first boyfriend, Mr. What is his name? Mr. Von Keith.
Yeah,
it was his brother. It was his brother. Right. Yeah,
I mean, and like his brother's got motive and opportunity, right? Like,
right.
Like, you just why would you tell a brother? Him? You just lost a brother to the front lines. Mom's cried every year on this date hysterically.
Of course. But like, why? Why does Frederick and Von Kat decide that like telling anybody else is a good idea?
Because, okay, look, you're young, you're dumb. And you know what? You know this guy, you trust this guy. He is the brother of your first love, right? Like, think about it. Like the breakup, it wasn't a breakup.
Yeah, it was kind of a tear apart,
right?
If you will.
And so you're still super close with the family.
Okay. I'm gonna let that. Okay, like, that works.
Mom still makes you lemon bars and still thinks that you're
the cutest.
Yeah, you're just amazing, and I know my son loved you.
Okay, I'm gonna let that. I'm gonna let that work. Okay, that works. Okay.
Like,
but anyway,
don't get me wrong, dumb as all get out, but it's understandable if you look at it from that lens of like, these guys likely had some good camaraderie.
Yeah, I would have to think they did, and I would have to think they'd probably been together for years as far as like time spent with each other, right?
Mm,
Just because they are serving in the military, so they've probably gone through whatever their training, whatever their schooling,
yeah.
all of that together. But that being said, so they tattle, and Dad finds out about it, and he catches them, court martials them, and tries them. And but before he tries them, the first thought that goes through his mind is he's just gonna kill them and pass over the line of succession to one of his younger sons because
It's cleaner. And we've already know that this one isn't, the first one didn't
this
turn out. It's like the first pancake.
pancake, yeah, you're not quite the right shape. Um, but then he realizes that's gonna not go over so well with the Holy Roman Empire. Um, it's not gonna sit well executing your own crown prince. So he does the next best thing, and he makes him watch the execution of his lover.
Uh,
But he faints before the death blow, so he technically didn't see the execution, but he was there. He gets it. He
I
knows what's
mean,
going on.
yeah, like there's so much emotional trauma there. Like,
So much.
I don't know if it's really a saving grace that he didn't see it. Like maybe you don't have that ringing through your brain, but you've got all the trappings of survivor guilt going, whether you had your
Oh,
eyes open or not.
there's got to be so much going on upstairs. So much going on. However, that segues into his marriage because by 1733 he is married to Elizabeth Christine, who is an Austrian Habsburg. Does not, can confirm, have the Habsburg chin. Looking good, Elizabeth Christine. Just saying. um, they don't have a love filled marriage. There's no passion there, but he does respect her, and she stays faithful to him her entire life. He bestows all the honor, all the properties, everything due her position,
I just
both as his princess and his queen.
I just want to push back on that because we don't know that it was loveless because they both were quote faithful to each other or whatever.
Well, she
She
was
she
faithful to
was
him.
she was a Habsburg. So what's to say that she had the ability to have children?
Okay, so that's true. However, we do know that they did not share the same residence for most of their life.
Okay, that's fair. It's kind of hard
So,
when you've got enough room for the Holy Ghost between.
right. He, in fact, in their capital city, he didn't even allow her to come to the main palace. She had her own court and her own
She had a
palaces.
separate zip code, a separate area code, if you will.
She did in fact,
I
yes.
got hopes in
Mm-hmm.
different area codes. Okay,
That's it. Yep, that's
all right.
it.
I'm editing all that out.
No, you're not. Keeping it. Love it. However, he does, despite how terrible his father treated him, he does have mad respect for him. He really admires the way he rules his people and how he feels it's his duty to serve his people. Um, so he kind of takes some pages from Dad's playbook, but he does some really great things with his kingship after Dad dies. He brings a bureaucracy into the modern age. He reforms the judicial system. I said it. I'm on fire.
No one's stopping you now. You
Can't be
should join
stopped.
Santa Anna on a campaign into Texas.
But I look like Zappoid Beagle Rocks while I do it. um, he abolishes judicial torture, which we have determined is not just like the judge throwing torture at you, but probably had something to do with like investigating of crimes and interviewing people,
But you
if you
see
will.
that, and I feel like jury duty would be much more entertaining if you had someone on the rack.
Okay, but also
Confess. Click, click, click.
jury duty is judicial torture, in my opinion. That's just me.
I mean, like,
So
if you could just skip ahead to being like, you were actually picked, here is the case, as opposed to like sitting there. Just a reminder that there is no cell phones or talking or amusement of any kind. Please stare forth at the wood-paneled walls and hate the next 12 hours of your life. You will be paid $5 for this enjoyment.
That's going to go straight into parking. Yeah, so thanks. Now I have to go to therapy for that.
You're welcome.
Because that's exactly what my last jury duty was. He makes it possible for non-nobles to rise through the ranks to become judges and senior bureaucrats. He is a big fan of freedom of speech and freedom of the press. He views kingship as a duty, with him being the first servant, although he did rule with absolute authority. He encourages immigration into Prussia. He abolishes serfdom on crown-owned lands, which we've determined serfdom is where the individual and the family is tied to the land, not the landowner. So at the very least, the lands owned by the crown, serfdom was abolished. So that's cool. Not so cool. He was rather oppressive towards Catholics. He he feared the Jews as being the most what's the word I would like to say, the most dangerous sect of minorities in his country, for one reason or another, because I guess, Jews at this time were feared everywhere they go, so there's that.
I mean, yeah, I'm glad that we've stopped that. I'm glad that that's over. That was a dark chapter.
For 3,000 years.
Yeah, up until yesterday, actually.
Right. He set up the lottery and fire insurance for his subjects. He did actually turn out to be really good at war. Prince Eugene of Savoy, with whom he was protege to, stated that everything about him convinced him that he was one day going to be a great military leader. He was, because he read everything. He used ancient plays from all the great military commanders of the past, and they worked for him, even when his armies were numbered 10-1. He was kind of always winning.
Did he read Liu Bing's strategy and then okay, we've got him kind of surrounded, start singing the songs of their countrymen, the folk songs? Oh, Susanna, on 1, 2, 3. Make them think that they've lost.
That wasn't in my notes, but I would have to think there has to be some deception involved.
I mean, that was one of those plays I was like, you sang a song and that made them think that their side lost.
Hey, you know what? Distraction, it works. It's super works.
That's a hell of a distraction. How sad are your folk songs? And everyone's like, that's the song that means that's the fat lady singing. It's game.
The Rains of Castamere?
All right. All right.
You're welcome.
Thanks now.
Anytime. The gif of Alice from Alice in Wonderland curtsying in front of you. There you go.
All right. Fair enough. Carry on.
Carry on then. So the whole reason I wanted to tell this story is this right here. In 1756, he realizes that his people are about to fall into could be a famine. Things aren't going well. We've just come out of some battles. Food's not growing great. So he tries to convince his countrymen to eat the potato because it's new to Prussia. It's just made its way east, and they're like, yeah, no,
because the potato comes all the way from South America, right? This has had a rather long voyage. Okay,
right, yeah. And his countrymen are like, not feeling this.
They're the 3-year-old going, it's dirty.
Ew. It tastes weird. I don't like it. Well, you liked it yesterday. I don't like it today.
It's dead to me.
Yeah. And one of the other cool policies, that being said, one of the other cool policies he put in place is kind of an open door policy where it didn't matter if you were a nobleman or a bureaucrat or a peasant. He was available to talk to. So he heard from all the stratas of life how the potato sucks. However,
they wrong.
grow. they were wrong, and potatoes grow really well in Prussia. So he does what any forward thinking individual does, and he has fields and fields and fields of potatoes planted all around Berlin. And he tells his guards, guard this so they'll want it. And when they come to take it, take a nap. Ignore them. Take the bribe. I don't care. Let them get the potatoes, but make it look like they're really special. And the guards were like, okay, boomer,
But you know, like
whatever.
that's still best job. They're like, okay, so mom, I got this job, right? Like I'm working, I told you I'm working for Fredrick the Great, right? Like I'm making the money. Like you told me, get the state job, get the government job. I got the government job.
You were right. It's got great insurance.
The benefits, mom, wait to hear the benefits.
I just
Take
get to take
bribes,
naps. Yeah.
take naps. They don't care if I steal things. They don't care if I let others steal. I could, whatever,
Like
as
I'm
long as the
not gonna lose my
potatoes.
job. If like you remember when Joe accidentally took like he took a squash and it didn't go over well?
Yeah, like you remember how he accidentally shot the king's deer, and next thing you know, like he was in the stocks for a week and a half.
That was a thing that happened. Embarrassing still. But well, anyway, yeah. So as long as my suit's pressed, I'm like good. I'm good to go. Like I just gotta show up.
What a gig.
Right? And the peasants are like, potatoes. And they sing about it and they figure out how to make French fries and au gratin and most importantly, mashed potatoes.
Wait a minute,
And
wait a minute,
every
wait a minute.
I can't actually confirm what they figured out how to do with the potatoes.
I was about to say, like, I'm pretty sure the you mean the amazing Prussian potato that you get next to your hamburger?
That's the one.
I mean,
That is called a French fry, but is an American food.
really from Prussia?
Mm, I mean, we talked about how France is in the middle of absolutely everything. This is not new.
Okay, I give up. Your turn. You've done a great job. I'm convinced.
Thanks. I like I said, I don't know what they made with the potatoes. I am gonna look it up though because I am really curious to try some recipes from the 1700s to see if their potatoes tasted anything like our potatoes.
I mean, potatoes are probably the same, but what they did to them are a bit.
Yeah, right. Because spices,
It's
right?
like, but I can't get leeches. What do I do with this? How do I make the leech potato soup? Oh, leek. Oh, we've got
leek.
leeks. Yeah.
Yeah, leek. I was just gonna wait. um, so all of that to say, he kind of becomes the hero of the day. His people don't starve. They learn to love potatoes. All things are going great. He earns the nickname of the old Fritz. I forgot to mention this in case all you listeners at home care. He was also a Freemason, which I find very interesting.
Whoa.
I know. He might have something to do with that Templar treasure. Kind of don't think so, but worth saying. He loved animals. He opened the first veterinary school in Prussia. Refused to wear spurs because it might hurt the horses. Oh, during his military campaigns, I can't believe I forgot to mention this. He actually had his horse shot out from underneath him multiple times. So he led his armies into battle.
Wait a minute. Had his horse shoot. Like, Billy, take aim at the horse. Shoot Flicka. Yeah, I'm gonna fly off the horse. It's gonna be fantastic.
Like,
don't miss. Don't hit me in the leg.
No, it wasn't like for show, Billy. It was like the enemy was firing on him while he was leading his troops into battle, and they shot the horse out.
When we say like he had it done, like it's like he elected to surgery.
No, it's not Lasix. he just was sitting on the horse, like riding I'm not a horse rider, okay? He was riding the horse, and the horse was removed. He all of a sudden wasn't riding the horse.
The horse was erased. And he was
standing there. And all that to say, so he dies at the ripe old age of 74 years old. Historians believe his last words were "cover the greyhound" because she was cold. They found him dead the next morning. I'm thinking he lived a life, man. Napoleon worshipped the ground he walked on. And I have to share this quote because I think it is, because Napoleon to me is like one of those characters who you don't think had any idols, right? Like
other
he
than
is
himself.
Right, exactly. Like, oh, I only love myself and I'm the best. But no, Fredrick the Great was his homie, and when he took Berlin, he took up resident in the old Fritz's former offices, and went demanded to see his tomb. Which, by the way, his Fredrick the Great's successor did not honor his last wishes and had him buried next to his father.
Now wait a minute. The successor was his brother, his little brother. His little brother's like, yeah, look, I know you said you gave me the crown. Thank you. Thank you. Warm seat, by the way. Fantastic.
Yeah.
Great dog. Yeah, you want to be buried here? I'm putting you next to dear
Yeah.
old dad that you got
In a
along with
state funeral.
so well. So
So
well.
well. Yeah. That did all those nice things for you and your boyfriend. Great. But anyway, so Napoleon goes to visit his mausoleum, and before he gets all the way in, he turns to the men with him and says, "Hats off, gentlemen. If he were alive, we would not be here." And like the depth of that for me says so much, because Napoleon himself tried to invade Russia 3 times.
It was
And
a
I
bit cold.
just, it was a little cold, but to me, it showed the amount of respect he had. Like, okay, I wouldn't mess with Prussia if he was still alive. Um,
Mm.
but I'm stupid enough to go after Russia in winter.
I mean, look, we don't all bat 1,000, right? Like God sometimes doesn't give with both hands for specific individuals,
Yeah,
like Santa
Napoleon was one of
Anna.
them.
I mean,
He didn't give with both legs for Santa Anna.
he didn't kick with both feet. That Lord of ours.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
so
yeah.
with Napoleon, sometimes he just kind of has these lapse in judgments. Like hooking up with Josephine, who may or may not have actually liked him.
These are things. These are
Yeah,
things. But he
or
loved her.
oh, didn't he?
Yeah, poor Napoleon. So sadly, his reputation, Frederick the Great, not
Yeah,
Napoleon.
okay, fair. Thanks for the letting me know.
Yeah, sorry about that. Frederick the Great, his reputation takes a hit for the worst when Hitler comes to power and he becomes a bit of a Nazi symbol, because no Jews.
You know,
Um,
Hitler had a bunch of things.
he
He liked a lot of things. He liked Henry Ford.
there you go. I got a beef with both of them. The whole 5-day work week, among other things.
I mean, when Hitler has a big painting of you behind his desk, I feel like we need to ask additional questions.
Follow-ups for sure. But because of Hitler, the one thing Hitler did right in his entire reign is that when he went to war, he actually took Frederick's the Great body, not bodies, there's only one, and hid it so that it would remain safe and respected during the war.
But you say this, but it's like, and I thought about this, not to be contrarian,
Oh,
even
you're
though
totally being a contrarian.
I am. But it's like we don't know if anything would have happened. We don't know if there were a group of people going like, look, I just can't wait. I just gotta scale this fence. I'm gonna start digging. I got a shovel.
I think it was more that he was concerned about bombing of Berlin, right?
Okay. Okay.
Bombing of the Prussian areas. So like he was buried in Potsdam, and I'm going to assume Potsdam was right in the train uh, of could potentially be a real disaster if
Okay. I'm
the
with you.
Allies get on board, right? So he hides the things that are valuable to him. Frederick the Great's body is one of them. Um, but because of this, it allows for 205 years later somebody else to honor Frederick the Great's wishes and bury him in the crypt he had built for himself to share with his dogs in death.
And that's just
You can still
beautiful.
go there and put potatoes on his grave today. Yeah,
I love
it's
that.
I love that too. Like I like my dogs so much. I want him in the crypt next to me when he goes. Greyhounds, in case you're curious, they were greyhounds.
Maybe not all of them, but at least the one on the end of his bed, right? Or were they all
Um,
greyhounds?
I know so he had two at the end of his life, and they were both greyhounds. And my assumption is he's like the Queen of England and her corgis. Like once you find the breed, you found the breed.
Hmm.
So I'm thinking, but I don't know what his collection of dogs ranged from. I just know the last two were greyhounds.
That's really awesome.
Right? Potatoes and greyhounds, man.
Potatoes and
Education in
gravy. I mean, greyhounds.
don't eat the greyhounds, pet the greyhounds while you eat the potatoes,
Give
or
them a
pet the
blanket of
potato.
gravy because they're cold.
Could have been. He did not die. He did not die senile on Staten Island, missing a leg. So there's a bonus there.
So you're saying he had a better go?
Uh, uh, mm, like we don't know about Santa Anna's love life or how his dad treated him, but I'm gonna say he definitely had a better end.
I think Santa Anna had the kind of like, he wasn't here for a good long relationship. He was here for a great vacation. He just
He
seems
was
like
here
a
for a
vacation.
vacation ship.
Yeah, he's there for, for tonight.
Yeah. So all I know is that Fredrick was, at the very least, respectful of his wife. She lived in a different palace, and he loved his dogs. Past the first two boyfriends, I'm not sure
He
if he
probably
ever
became a
loved
lot more
again.
discreet after that.
I'm thinking that if he did, yeah, I should probably look into that. I didn't think till just now to think to see if he had any other male or female lovers. I would think though, after watching one get sent away and the other one get executed, you either are super discreet and we're never going to know about it, or you just don't.
I don't know. I don't feel like the urge ends. So I'm feeling like you just keep it very under the rug. Learn more at
Ugh.
pbs.com because we're not fit to fill in the details.
Oh, I didn't tell you my sources. I'm sorry. Do you want to know my sources?
I would love to know your sources.
All right. I while sitting in church this morning, sorry, I wrote
Don't
them down.
apologize to me. Apologize to your pastor.
That's who I was apologizing to.
I'm sorry that you listen to this podcast. Please pray for our mortal souls.
Please and thank you. Um, SCIHI.org. That was one of them. It's a science, tech, and art history website. I looked it up. Yep. Lumenlearning.org, Britannica, Wikipedia for the timeline of events because they're so great at timelines. Warfarehistorynetwork.com, not military news like I thought. And I don't know why this is a thing, but discoverywalks.com, which is like I think a trip, not TripAdvisor, but like a travel planning website.
Come
Because
walk the same path he took his dogs on.
yeah, because like it was like 10 facts about Fredrick the Great. But it was like like each fact had a relation to the area, like a picture or
This
his
is
pet.
where
Like,
he watched his lover be executed. And you can have a hoagie here.
thank God it didn't say that, but yeah. You can still put potatoes on his grave though. It's
Blood
encouraged.
orange smoothies. No?
You are terrible. Thank you. Hi, Jack. Absolutely terrible. The worst, even. I don't want a smoothie or a hoagie where my former lover's head got chopped off.
I mean, maybe you don't, but 100 years from now, people are going to be clamoring for something. And hoagie is just a weird word to say.
You just wanted to say hoagie, but I don't feel like that's a sandwich that's indigenous to Prussia.
Well, potatoes weren't either. And here we
Pierogies.
are.
Pierogies.
Those are Polish.
Near Russia, they had potatoes.
But
That makes more sense than a hoagie. And it sounds as fun. I'll fight you.
I want to disagree, but I'm going to let this go.
It's just like she's giving in because she sees how determined the look on my face to be
I'm
right
like,
about this is.
my drink is empty. I could use some more.
I'm
I
not
let her
going to argue
stop.
about a hoagie.
Yeah, I can go get more if I wrap this up.
Call it done. Freaking hoagie.
It's a pretty good insult, actually. Freaking hoagie. What does that even mean?
Oh my god, it's the equivalent of saying you're an idiot sandwich from Gordon Ramsay. You're a freaking hoagie.
Oh, best insult ever came from one time I had to take somebody very close to me. I'll let you guess who. I won't tell you on air. Um, to the emergency room because they thought they had a hernia, and the emergency room staff give this individual an MRI of their abdomen and come back and tell me and patient, uh, we can tell that you have a fecal burden, but there is no indication of a hernia. I was like, oh, back when the terminology was fecal burden. That is the best insult I've ever heard. Best insult, fecal burden. And then it was, are you saying that we just paid $4,300 so you could have a doctor look at your poop?
What do you do? What do you do for that?
You wait it out. You offload your fecal burden.
Stool softener?
It was a while ago. It was a long time ago. And
Oh. I have a real solid guess. I'm just
you
gonna
said
say
solid.
oh, I did. I'm just gonna say send them my regards or don't. Whatever. That's hilarious. I'm not laughing at the situation. I'm
No, you
laughing
are.
at
You
the
know,
verbiage.
I mean, fecal burden is up there. And it was
The
that never
freaking
happened.
hoagie.
That never happened. Okay, then where did I get the terminology fecal burden? Because I didn't make that up.
You can't make this crap up, bud.
Crap.
Oh God, I'm sorry.
Don't apologize to me. I'm enjoying it.
I have a fecal burden now because I can't stop saying things related to it. Lame.
But joking. You didn't say that.
I
I don't know.
didn't. I was
No.
like, wait a minute.
Wait,
Did I say
what?
that?
Rewind the tape. I don't feel like that. There's a flag on the plane. It
Yeah, I was
wasn't
gonna say
me.
flag on the play. I didn't say that. Oh, that's unfortunate. Freaking
Well,
hoagie.
on that note, we love hanging out with you. Even if you don't like hanging out with us, we're that friend.
Show up to the party uninvited.
Right. And if you want to tell us how much you don't like hanging out with us, we're here for it. You can do that at history or oof. You can do that at unhinged.historypod@gmail.com. We're here for it because right now we're just getting updates on social media.
And we like that.
I mean, we do, but those are just links, and we'd rather hear from you because you seem more fun. You're more exciting than generated mail.
We like this. Yeah. Hit us with some good stuff.
Yeah.
Story suggestions.
Ways we've messed up. Other
Ways we-
stories where people didn't math the math out and decided to roll the dice and
get their legs shut off.
I mean, we're down. We're down for that.
Yeah, we love this. Freaking hoagie.
On that note, have a great time. We'll talk to you next time.
Peace out, my potato friends.
Goodbye.
Bye.